Click, boom. On my end, we have started.
Sweet.
Okay. We're going to kind of go off the cuff because I don't have much in the way of notes. We're just going to go by the seat of our pants, Lynn. You cool with that?
Ooh, I'm down.
Mm-hmm.
Good thing I got a reinforced seat on my pants.
Thank goodness. And officially, we're on podcast episode 87 tonight.
Yeah,
Woo!
one episode closer to 100.
And on that note,
welcome to the Nerdentials podcast, starring your hosts, Joe Tweedy, Matthew Johnson, Nick Thomas, and Lynn Dudgeon.
welcome to Nerdentials, your weekly dose of the nerdy essentials covering film, TV, video games, and comic books. I'm your host, Joe Tweeden, and joining me in the Nerd Cave this episode is the Lynn Dudgeon.
Hey-oh.
Welcome, Lynn. How are things this week?
Pretty good. I've been great. How have you been?
I've been pretty spiffy.
Spiffy?
Yeah, we're getting started a little late as far as recordings go, but it'll buff out.
Shit will indeed buff out.
Remember last episode? I don't know if you rewatched it, but I bleeped all the times that I said that.
Yeah.
Why does it sound different when you say it?
It just does.
It
I don't
does.
know why it's different when you say it.
I can't explain it either. But that being said, guys, welcome to podcast episode 87. And Lynn said it previously or slightly off air. We are one more closer.
Episode closer to 100.
One more closer to 100. That being said, guys, it's just me and Lynn tonight. We're gonna, at least for now, maybe someone will join us, maybe they won't. Shout out to Matt and Nick. We miss you, boys. Matt more so, just because it has been a hot second. But
Ooh, yeah.
guys, just a little upfront housekeeping to kick things off. We are a podcast and YouTube video show. So, guys, anywhere you listen to podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes, Google Play, you can hear us anywhere there. And, or if you're lucky enough to catch our ugly mugs visually, you can find us on the YouTubes. But more importantly, something I haven't promoted lately, Lynn, and I'm ashamed, is I recently have updated and have been keeping up with the website.
Oh.
So if you guys want to catch all our additional content, aside from the show, you can go to a nice little place called Nerdentialsmedia.com.
.com.
That's right. It's been a minute, but that's still going. That's still a thing. So check it out, guys. If you like what you hear today, hit subscribe to keep up to date with all our stuff, and hit the like button if you're enjoying the conversation so far. So I think, without further ado, sir, we should just jump into the variety of topics we have today.
Ooh.
I want to briefly cover a little conversation in film, so I think we should definitely now jump into Movie Matters.
Hit it.
Guys, welcome to Movie Matters. We don't have a lot of... quick side note, I haven't been able to keep up too much on too many current things, aside from the times being crazy like they are, but also if you notice, my background looks a little chaotic and messy. It's because the last 2 episodes, I was temporarily living with Lynn until I could establish a location. So I literally just moved earlier in the week. So there's still some boxes and crap in the background. That's eventually going to change as we...
Shit'll buff out.
It will buff out. Will buff out.
All right.
That sounded weird.
That did sound weird.
I don't get it. Anyway.
Oh, well.
Point is, guys, I have not prepared too much on the front as far as news goes. And we may be a week or 2 behind on this topic, but I did want to at least have a brief back and forth about it. Apparently, Zack Snyder, director, movie producer, who's kind of been like the headline for the social media site known as Vero. Now, we joined that a year ago, haven't kept up with it. It's still kind of a small thing in the ether world as far as social media goes, but Mr. Zack Snyder has, over the last 2 years, consistently posted things about, well, the Justice League movie, the Man of Steel film, the stuff that he pioneered when the DCEU was kicking off, and a lot of things he was showing was like teases of things that got cut, concept art, things like that. And anyone not familiar with what happened, just a quick overview. Justice League came out, critically crapped on, panned, fans completely divided. And a lot of it was he produced majority of the film and then needed to step down due to a family tragedy, which we've covered in past episodes. And Warner Brothers hired Joss Whedon to kind of pick up the leftovers, do reshoots, that kind of thing. And so it's definitely a film that's been looked at as being a very divided project, a very amalgamation of 2 different creative heads, plus a corporate overlord that meddled their fingers into the creative pool and turned out a less than favorable product. Yep. So, but what we're talking about today is the movement on this topic called #Release the Snyder Cut. Now, almost 2 years now, this hashtag has been spread across the internet amongst DC fans, very much wishing to see what Zack Snyder's original vision was for that film. And lo and behold, in the last few months, a lot of the leading actors from said film, The Justice League, have also voiced their wishes to see, because there was a really good friendship, partnership between the directors and actors for that film, and a lot of them have spoken up recently, adding the hashtag Release the Snyder Cut on their own social media sites. People like Henry Cavill, Gal Gadot, even Batfleck himself has... Oh, and Jason Momoa. Jason Momoa, aka Aquaman for this, have all used the hashtag, and in the last month or so, Warner Brothers revealed in several articles that they are officially going to release a version of Zack Snyder's film. Crazy thing is this kind of goes into the category of, oh, if we speak loud enough, we can make changes. The biggest thing to happen was when the Sonic the Hedgehog film was teased over a year and a half ago, and everyone just completely crapped on the design. It was a horrible thing all over the media about that film and how all the fans hated how Sonic looked. And in very quick response, the studio said, hey, we're going to postpone the release of this. We're gonna go back. We've heard your pleas and cries of your fandom. We're going to fix how Sonic looks. And by golly, they did it. And it was only delayed by a few months. And several people, Nick, one of our hosts here, being among many, have said that they enjoyed the film. Not a masterpiece, but it pleased a lot of fans to see the change. So this is kind of sort of the same thing, but what's interesting about this is Warner Brothers has said that they're going to dump $20 million back into the production / finishing of Zack Snyder's version of it. They're going to complete a lot of the unfinished footage that was filmed. They're going to do ADR, which is when you bring in actors or voiceover actors and you do additional recording in post-production. So there's a lot of things at play here, and what we have learned is it's either going to be one of two things, and I think that Warner Brothers is leaning on making it into a mini-series, like a one-off mini-series for their new service HBO Max, which we'll talk a little bit about that since it just recently became available a week or two ago, I think, from the time of this recording.
Yep.
And what was rumored a couple weeks ago was either they're going to release it as a 4-hour cut of the film or a 6-part miniseries running standard HBO length of like 1-hour episodes with cliffhangers. Now, me personally, as a fan of DC and very heavily being disappointed in what we got with Justice League, I very much, from everything that we've heard, I want to see Zack Snyder's version of it, and I'm also more than excited to see it released as a lengthy miniseries on HBO. And what we've learned is it's going to be about a year worth of post-production and stuff, so we're not going to get it till next summer, but it is coming. And so this is just kind of like a crazy testament of fandom and fandom history of fans crying out long enough and Warner Brothers sucking up and realizing, well, we're not going to make any more money in theaters, but we got a streaming service. Why not release it? It's going to add to their subscriptions at some point. So we'll talk a little bit about what we might expect here in a second, but Lynn, I've been talking a lot here. I wanted to pass off to you, and what's your interest? Do you care, not care, or what do you hope to see with this release?
From all of the things across the ether, if it's half as much as everybody says, I'm gonna be excited. Even if if there's some added to what was taken out, it'll be good. And I mean, if they want to do it as one big lump movie, I'll sit through it. It'll be worth it. But if they do the miniseries or the episodic style, I'd be down for that as well. Because I know I'm going to end up getting that because of the HBO Max, because of the Studio Ghibli.
Yeah, we'll talk about what else is on that service, but there's a lot of cool things coming.
No, but I mean, one way or another, I'm excited for it either way, just to add to that to make it slightly better than what it was. Because I mean, I didn't hate it like a lot of people condemned it, but it's just there were things that needed to be there that weren't there, and it'd be nice to see those things that he had in.
Yeah. So for anyone not familiar with what the original plan was prior to Warner Brothers saying no to Zack Snyder about a lot of different things that he wanted to do for it, What we do know is he's been very vocal. Zack Snyder's been very vocal about what his plans had been, what things he wanted to do with it, how big he was hoping it would be. And so what we've learned from what he has said on his own social media is that Justice League was originally a planned trilogy in its own. Man of Steel was kind of like an epilogue. The Batman v Superman was kind of like an introduction of all the characters. And then what we were supposed to get with the Justice League movie was a part one of a 3-part trilogy of films. Which is why a lot of you see things that you saw in teaser trailers that didn't end up in the final cut. The film was going to be, prior to official release, it was going to be over 2.5 hours, and then once Zack Snyder stepped down from it and they brought in Joss Whedon, they got it down to 2 hours, which is crazy when you're looking at an ensemble film of it's like an Avengers film when you got that many characters that have barely been to the general audience. General audience doesn't know a whole lot about all the characters involved, and when you try to just show them all in one film,
it's like what there was a standalone Superman movie, there was a standalone Wonder Woman movie, there was no standalone Cyborg or standalone Flash. There was an Aquaman movie,
which came after that was post.
It came. Yeah.
And there was no solo Batman film introducing the new version of Batman either.
Yeah. There was no character introduction or build up like I don't mean to compare it to the Marvel universe, but it worked a little bit better for the Avengers, you know what I mean?
Well, and even though they didn't, when they released Iron Man 1, they didn't at that moment have the whole thing conceived, but they still tackled it and successfully did it versus what Warner Brothers tried to pull off with this. And
they made it a thing.
Yeah. And so a couple little tidbits I learned, and I'll get your thoughts on this, Lynn, of things that were cut and things that Zack Snyder has teased over the last year. There was a completely cut scene of Henry Cavill walking through the ship and seeing a black Superman suit, which is very infamous in the comic books for this plot. There were things that were cut from the final release of Justice League, scenes like the main villain we ended up with trying to collect these mother boxes and then looking at them and referring to them as mother and having no context, no background. If you didn't know the comic books at all, you'd be like, why does he keep referring to these boxes as
WTF, mate?
As mother? And what we learned from Zack Snyder is that the overall scope for the trilogy was he was collecting those mother boxes because his own mother, I forget the character, sorry nerds, correct me in the comments below, but her spirit was locked away in these boxes. And so it seems like, he's trying to bring back his mother or whatever in some weird collaboration, but the idea was he was going to release her, then take all her power away so he could overthrow Darkseid, which we only barely got a little tease that Darkseid had anything to do with this movie itself. And then there was the whole scene in the trailer where Alfred, Batman's butler, Jeremy Irons, was in a scene looking at someone, and in the reflection of his glasses, you saw a green glow. And he was like, I think the line was something like, "You're not too late," or "Oh, thank goodness you came," or whatever. And in a later cut of a trailer, it was Superman showing up, and then in the final cut of the movie, that whole scene doesn't even exist. And Completely cut. So the idea there, Zack Snyder revealed, was that he was going to introduce a version of Green Lantern. There was going to be just a cameo of Green Lantern. And then in the second and third films of Justice League trilogy, he was going to be a bigger role and become part of the Justice League. There's also speculation with movie posters where they say the Seven will rise, but there's only 6 members of the Justice League in the movie. And a lot of speculation was like it was either going to be Green Lantern or Martian Manhunter, which is another huge key character that was never introduced. And Zack Snyder revealed that he was possibly going to use the General in that film. And if you go back and listen to some of his lines about how he talks about these superhero aliens or whatever, there's indications that imply that Martian Manhunter was disguised, because anyone that knows in comic books, Martian Manhunter is a shapeshifter. And so that was another thing that was kind of forgotten about and completely cut out. And just, if they can even... And here's the thing, is what we learned at the end of all this, is that Zack Snyder said he filmed over 80% of the movie, or 80% of what he filmed got cut, was the actual statement he made, or someone made, about his production time. 80% of the whole project that he filmed, as far as like plots and things, were cut, and then the crap ton was reshot by Joss Whedon. A lot of the slapstick humor, like when Batman gets knocked down, like, okay, when Superman comes back to life, and it's kind of like a pet cemetery where he's not quite right in the head, he's been revived, and they're all like, why is he trying to kill us all? You know, the rest of the Justice League. And Batman gets knocked down, and he makes some really cheesy comments, you know, and it's like all those super cheesy Marvel-esque, I'm using air quotes here, lines were Joss Whedon reshoots. Like, a lot of them. So, in the end, the Zack Snyder cut was going to be way more dark and way more serious. And this was Warner Brothers' attempt to liven things up and kind of try to bring it up to a Marvel feel for the film. But just so many mistakes, mishaps, plot holes, so much stuff. But now if they do the reshoots, they make it a 6-part hour-long series, they've got a lot of opportunity to add more depth to each character's motivations. Because my wife, this is the worst experience I ever had. My first time watching it, I watched it with her at home on demand. She bought it for me because she knew I was a huge fan of the stuff, and then we watched it together, and there's nothing worse than a comic book superhero movie fan sitting in a room with someone who loves these characters but doesn't have all the background knowledge that I do. And then every plot hole that came up, she'd be like, why is he doing that? Why is he so pissed off at her? And blah, 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 this and blah, blah, that. And I'd be like, I sort of had explanations for it, but then it just made me hate watching the movie even more, because I'm like, I shouldn't have to explain this to someone of the general, not to slam my wife, but the general audience perspective, which I think for her, she's more along the lines of the general audience when it comes to these movies. I shouldn't have to explain things that should be inherent in the story. So, things like that. So, one last thing I wanted to point out. There's a reason that Wonder Woman has such a vengeful feeling towards the main villain. And there was a whole scene where an entire building of innocent people gets completely destroyed and she is unable to save them. And that was a whole scene that got cut out that was supposed to fuel her motivation and give you like, oh, okay, now I know why Wonder Woman is so pissed off. But we're left like, and my wife, she's like, why is she so angry at so and so and so and so? And I'm like, I kind of had a general idea, but obviously the movie didn't lay that out for anyone.
General idea.
General Obvious. Captain Obvious. Yeah. So, bottom line. Warner Brothers is throwing $20 million more into it. Gonna let them finish up a lot of what was previously shot. I want to see it. Honestly, I mean, yeah, I'd love to see a long movie, but I'm also more excited to see like a 6-episode miniseries where all of that crap that got cut is really nicely fleshed out. I'd love to see all that stuff. So, hashtag I'm excited. Hashtag thank you for releasing the Snyder Cut. We're going to put it that way. Did you have any other thoughts on any of those missing plots that you're like, oh yeah, I'd like to see that, or I'd be really curious about this?
I'd like to see a depiction of, well, the Snyder depiction of Darkseid.
Oh, I want to see that, dude.
So what I'm saying is, like the depiction in Doctor Strange of Dormammu and Galactus and all that, I would like to see Schneider's depiction of Darkseid. I feel like it would be super dark and super gritty, and there would be laser beams everywhere.
Oh yeah. We saw some badass laser beams with Zod and in the Man of Steel, the first movie. So
yeah. No, I just I feel like it. I would like to see that, the villain.
Totally, and I'd like either way, yeah. So I think right now it kind of ties up what I had to say regarding movies. We do have room for some short reviews if there's anything you've recently watched at all. I know you've been working a lot. Personally, because of my moving, I haven't sat down and watched any movies. Oh, I will mention this just as a throwback, little a re-review of something old. And I mentioned it to you offline. Me and my wife sat down the other night and watched classic Jurassic Park.
Yes.
I want to spend a couple minutes on this, but I do want to. Because it's nostalgic and everything. It came out in 1993, and I want to throw this out there. Like, aside from a couple CG moments, and 90s CG tends to not age well. I'd say I deeply appreciate Steven Spielberg's desire for animatronics and puppetry, because that's the difference between George Lucas using a puppet for Yoda and then deciding to recast him with a CG Yoda, and then Disney doing the right thing and bringing back a puppet in the newest trilogy. There is a huge difference, even if it's a puppet. There's just
you mean any Henson movie ever? They aged very well.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is like, there's only so much you could do with technology during older eras, and like, yeah, CG's incredible today if you spend the money on it, but there's something special about animatronics and all those close-up scenes. The thing that still impresses me today, having rewatched that, is Steven Spielberg had a full-scale, full-size T-Rex head, an animatronic head of the T-Rex built for the scene where the Jeep with the two little kids and the T-Rex comes down and pokes his nose through the window, and the kids are freaking out. And it's just the water, the lighting, the production value was really high and still holds up today. Like, thank God he didn't CG that, because the movie is still a great classic in my mind, and not just because of nostalgia goggles, but he did a great thing. Same thing with Jaws. The reason Jaws is still great today is because that was a full-blown animatronic shark, and there was a lot of production issues, but he still pulled that off, and it still looks good today.
Yeah.
So, just a little throwback conversation.
If we're gonna do a nostalgic callback, the one that I've been watching, and you were there for it too, was the Labyrinth with David Bowie.
Oh,
we watched that
man.
on the regular. Oh man,
Cheesy as hell, but still a classic and still fun to
Oh, yeah.
watch.
and if we're going for puppetry,
That
the
was
best.
that was the epitome of Jim Henson master crafting there. Same with Dark Crystal.
Like the two where he tried to go dark, or where he did go darker, and it actually worked pretty well. I will say that I do love that movie.
Yeah, totally. I enjoyed all those. That's all I had to say. That's in all the busyness of this last week, I've only sat through an actual entire film, and it was a classic, so wanted to bring that up. Guys, that's going to wrap up Movie Matters.
Because they matter.
Because they do matter. There is one thing in television that I want to briefly talk about, so we will jump into a short segment of TV Talk. Guys, welcome to TV Talk. I know. What? Now, news-wise, we could talk about HBO Max because there's a crap load of cool things coming.
Oh gosh, yeah.
A lot of originals. We'll save that for next week. I'll actually put together some notes and maybe watch some of it.
Exactly. Let's actually hit it and see what's there, and then deep dive, so to speak, into it.
We'll do a segment or episode on that, depending on what we discover.
Hit it with, yo, check this out. They got this on there, and this, and that, and this. Oh yeah, heard you like this, so they got that.
One thing I'll throw out there.
Okay.
I saw on the front page they got all the Harry Potter films. Cool. I own them, but that's not the point.
Yeah.
The convenience is there. All the current Doctor Who is on there. The last 11 seasons, 2005 to now. I know there's other ways you can access it previously, but this is where it's at now. They got the rights to it for now.
We bought it all with the thing on the Amazon and the thing.
I know, and honestly, I've had seasons 1 through 9 on my computer for a while now, but
don't get me wrong, I like the Doctor before Tenet.
Oh no, yeah. Eccleston.
Yeah.
Eccleston. No, he was a great season 1 Doctor, and his time was way too short. But I do love me some Tenet, and I have enjoyed Matt Smith.
Yeah, they're great.
We'll leave it there. Yeah. That is a topic for another time. And all of the Friends seasons have left Netflix. Oh. Netflix lost them. Now HBO Max has them. Any of you 90s fans out there know what's up. Anyway, there's way more than that. We'll talk about that later at another time here. But something...
You were on a break.
I know. But hashtag Rothschild or Rachos. You can't really ship those names together.
Rothschild?
Rachel Ross. You can't. There's no shipping.
Rothschild.
There's no shipping of that name.
You can't ship it.
Anyway, it's not the Bradgelina. You can't ship it like that. Anyway, I mean, you could find a way, but what I'm about to talk about is going to be a little controversial. It's not political. It's not religious. I try to avoid those topics, but controversial as far as fandom goes. And it's unfortunate that Nick's not here because the show I watched, I do think he had positive things to say about it. And I do think he was equally sad that it didn't do better. But we're talking about a Marvel series that went 8 episodes long. It had a big promise because the 2-episode premiere of it was released in IMAX theaters temporarily before it came out on TV. And it's been criticized heavily for its overpromise and underdelivery. The show I'm speaking of,
Like every man out there.
Boom, ching. Yeah. The show I'm talking about is the sadly lauded or negatively lauded InHumans. Marvel's InHumans.
Ooh.
Now, here's the thing. The reason I've recently checked it out is because all the Marvel crap is on Disney Plus. Even the failed shows, a lot of them. Hulu's Runaways is on there. The failed 1-season Carter, which was a spinoff from Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And you've got the Marvel's InHumans among many others. So I don't know what led me to click on it, but the thing is I was doing some video game recording last night. So I literally watched the entire season less than 24 hours ago. I know. Wait, what? Let me explain, Lynn. Let me explain. I can't justify or explain why. It's not a masterpiece by any stretch of the imagination.
Hey guys, I'll just go check this out, and I'm gonna binge it all real quick.
I know. I understand the ridiculousness of how that sounds, but
No, you're good. You're good.
Here's my journey. Here's what happened. Here's how it started, at least. Last night, at the time of this recording, so we're recording Saturday night, Friday night.
About this time. Friday night.
About this time last night.
Okay.
I had just finished up Darksiders Genesis, and I texted you off air that I finished it. Woo, woo. Check it out on YouTube, guys.
I hit you with one of these.
You can, although I've got nothing to chase right now.
No, I hit you with a picture of that in
Oh,
Discord. No, text message.
our
Yeah.
exchanges, yes. You sent me a photo of I'm drinking this, and then I said, hey, I just finished this game. And you're like, sweet. And that's on our channel, guys. Shameless plug. And then my wife, Amy, was ready to go to bed. I said, hey, I'm not super tired. I'm going to probably stay up and watch something. And she's like, okay. She goes to bed. I go on Disney Plus because I'm like, I need to watch some stuff on here that like we pay for it because we have kids. And they watch the same crap. Love my kids, but and yours as well, Lynn. But they watch the same stuff. Yours and mine watch the same crap day in, day out.
Yep.
And I'm like, let me find some value in Disney Plus aside from feeding my kids. So let me hop over to Marvel. Let's see what's on there. And I'm like, you know what? I watched the first episode of InHumans. I'm seeing it. It's the first one on there. I've seen the episode before, and I just kind of walked away. Not because I hated it. It was just, it didn't hold my attention because there were so many things coming out at the time. And there still is. It's endless. The streaming wars are real, guys. But
Got a good friend. He says it's real.
it's real. It's real.
I got a real good friend.
You got a real good friend. I got a real good friend. He says it's real. It's incredible. So I went ahead. I'm like, screw it. Click. I hit play on the first episode. Rewatched it. It's still early. Only 40 minutes have passed. I finished the episode, and I'm like, after rewatching it, this is separated by 2 years of negativity. Like, the show got canceled. Fans were divided. Most of them hated it. Whatever.
Yes.
And I'm like, I'm going in kind of with a fresh mindset here because it's been 2 years since it was canceled. So I'm like, all right, I watch it. Probably more than 2 years. Honestly, I've lost track of time here, but I watched it. I'm like, there was nothing horrible about this. I'm intrigued and want to see a little more of it. I want to see if it keeps my attention. So next thing you know, episode's 2 done, and I'm like, it's getting intriguing. I see where people had criticisms. I see its shortcomings, but it's nothing to gawk at. And I think the problem is when they were promoting it, they're like, it's coming to IMAX, the premiere, and people, especially fans, were expecting a $100 million budget spectacle in IMAX, and money was put into it, but it's not that. And if you go into it expecting that, I think you're gonna start feeling like you were shortchanged in some way. And that's not the only thing. It's not just the visuals that were not $100 million quality. It wasn't bad.
Yeah.
It wasn't bad, but it wasn't blockbuster either. But there were also things they did with characters that left a lot of fans being like, of course they cut this out or cut that out because they didn't want to spend the money. And I get that, but the thing is, I chose not to focus on what everyone had criticized about it before, and I just like, I want to watch this and see how it plays out. Now, Anson Mount, the lead actor who plays Black Bolt, is a pretty decent actor, fairly well known in general. Not AAA known, but people know where he's from. And when they found out that he was going to be basically mute because Black Bolt's ability is being able to level cities with his vocal cords just by speaking, and people were like, how is he going to be entertaining if he's silent the whole show? And I'm just going to throw this out there. I enjoyed his performance. He did sign language. Medusa, his wife, played kind of the interpreter for a lot of it. And I got invested in him regardless of his silence throughout the entire show. It was impressive. Another actor, I should have probably looked this up, but again, guys, we relied on notes and I didn't take the time for this. But the guy that played in Game of Thrones, who, pardon the words, guys, but raped Sansa, anyone that's familiar, the bastard kid of that one family, I forget his name, Ramsay. So if you guys know the name Ramsay in Game of Thrones, you'll remember him. Huh?
Ewan Rohan?
Yeah. You'll remember how much we hated him as a character, almost as much as Joffrey. More so, actually. But Joffrey was just an asshole kid. But
yeah.
But that actor played the character Maximus, who in this storyline was kind of ostracized. He was the only non-Inhuman, and Inhumans are basically, it's kind of like they're mutants, but we can't call them mutants because there was that whole legality between Fox owning the name of mutants and Disney not being able to do anything with it previously. So, or Marvel not being able to do anything with it, I should say, prior to Disney buying Fox. So the thing is basically Inhumans are mutants, essentially, and they go through this process where they go infuse themselves with an alien crystal. It basically invigorates their genetic code, and if they have something special, they come out of the process with some unique ability. So it's kind of a ritual, and Black Bolt, Medusa, Karnak, Gorgon, Triton, Lockjaw. I'm going off of memory because I watched it last 24 hours, but basically all of them are known as the royal family, and they live in a city called Adelan, which exists on Earth's moon, and they're highly advanced. It's kind of like the city of Wakanda in the Avengers, where they keep their city hidden from the rest of civilization. So no one on Earth at this time setting for this show knows that this city exists on the moon because they're hidden behind this force field that makes them invisible. So it's an advanced society. It's an interesting premise. There's a lot of Game of Thronesy betrayal and twists, where Maximus is the brother of Black Bolt. Black Bolt has this insane ability to level cities with his voice, while Maximus has no abilities at all. And so he feels betrayed. He feels like he should be king, blah, blah, blah. That whole typical scenario. And man, I'll just say this. Like, I just wanted to give a little context for what it was, but at 8 episodes, I thought when I got to the 8th episode, knowing it was a canceled show, that I'd be upset with the ending, because I got into it, I enjoyed it, and knowing it wasn't going to continue after the 8th episode, I thought, oh no, am I going to hate the ending? Is it going to be a cliffhanger and I'm going to be pissed off? The one thing I'll say is the whole season 1, 8 episodes, can very easily be looked at as a miniseries that was a one and done, intentionally written that way. The thing is it wasn't like a finale that had our characters are done forever, we never need to know any more about them. It didn't end like that. It did end with the whole storyline of that season had a theme, a point A to point B, beginning and an end, and the finale ended with a conclusion in my mind that was satisfying. And I will say it this way: satisfying in that I'm not upset that it's not going to continue. Part of me was like, I'd love to see more stories with these characters in their new setting, because the end of the season does shift the setting for these characters. And they kind of end with we're on a new path now, family, and that's where it ends. And like, totally could have written more seasons for the show, because obviously there's ongoing comic books about them. But the show ended in a way where I was not upset that it was canceled. Part of me is like, it's too bad that it got canceled, because this is a really good show in my experience of sitting through it. But I started this at 11 o'clock last night, stayed up till 4 a.m., and I watched 7 out of the 8 episodes, and I finished the 8th episode this morning when I woke up. And I was like, damn. It wasn't revolutionary, but damn if I did not have a great time watching it. And it's on Disney Plus. So I leave it with that. Fan criticisms, certain things they did with characters, you're like, oh, that's cheap. Number one criticism I would say that I heard across the board about one of the characters is Medusa. Her whole ability is using her hair and being able to strangle people. It's supposed to be, she's like super strong hair, and like it's not incredible CG. A lot of people criticized it for it looking CG, and I get it. It did look CG. But she loses, spoiler warning guys, episode 1, 30 minutes in, they shave her head. There's this big, huge mutiny against the royal family. It's all in episode 1. Medusa gets her head shaved, and no joke, the entire season she never gets her hair back. However, I would like to give a shout out to her. She acted incredible, for lack of a better word, not having her superpower, but still playing a huge key role in her interaction with the rest of the royal family. And now I saw it happen, and as I got further in the series, I'm like, I see why people are pissed. They tried to cut corners and not use CG for the entire season with her hair. I get it. But that's what she's known for, and I understand why fans are pissed at that. But I feel like had they continued with more seasons, they could have easily gotten a bigger budget, brought her hair, had her hair grow back, whatever, and we could have had more cool badass Medusa scenes. But and the other last criticism regarding CG was the massive, gigantic bulldog known as Lockjaw. Lockjaw is a royal family member, a pet to the Medusa's sister, and he has the ability to literally teleport. Like Black Bull or Medusa will be like, take us to so and so, and she'll touch the dog, and the dog will like whoosh whip away like the genie in the lamp, like totally teleport anywhere you need to. That was his ability. Yeah. And yes, it's really hard, in my opinion, to get a 5,000 plus pound bulldog to look real. But I don't think it was horrible. Nothing about it made me go, oh god, this is so cheesy. Some of it was a little cheesy, but like, man, people bashed it so hard over the internet about the CG not being, Marvel level quality, whatever you want to say.
Yeah.
Anyway, I give it a complete passing grade of you should definitely give it a shot if you already have Disney Plus and we're in quarantine and you're looking for some more stuff to watch. Give it a try. It's worth the ride. 8 episodes. It was fun. It's short. I watched it in one night, but that's just because I'm crazy. But I had a great night, and I was really tired all day today because of it.
Hey.
Anyway, Lynn, you probably haven't checked any new television lately, yeah? I know you do a lot of gaming, so let's just chat a little bit of gaming here. Let's end TV talk. Wrap up the episode with a little bit of gaming.
Okay.
That being said, guys, let's get into gaming bits. Guys, welcome to Gaming Bits. This week, we're going to cover some reveals we have seen from a long-loved franchise that we have talked many times in the past about. But,
oh yeah.
Hashtag Destiny, what's up? But before we jump into that real quick, let's just have a quick back and forth of what we've been into gaming-wise, what we've been playing lately.
Shoot.
Lynn, I will toss it over to you for a minute, and because you do a lot more gaming lately with your current job situation.
Yes. So, on the PlayStation side, when I was home and playing on the PlayStation, I will say that the majority of my time on that console was dumped into either Death Stranding or the Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Ooh.
I gotta say, I definitely enjoyed the shit out of both. I will say
I got to my time living with you experience the first hour of both games.
Oh yeah.
And I will agree with you. Go ahead and add to that.
So on the Death Stranding side, I gotta say the realism of the characters and the rendering of all of it just makes it a little more real. And then just how large and vast everything is cool. I will say that the twist is very much a twist, and I quite haven't made it far enough into the game to 100% figure it out yet, but I have a idea / inkling where it is going.
Can we briefly touch on your feelings of its undersold level of quality and how insane Hideo Kojima is with this production? Just in general, just general talks.
Oh, dude. Yeah, I 100, if we're being real right now, I feel like this game didn't get the love that it deserved. It's going to turn into a cult classic eventually. And it's just one of those things where he put his weird little
Personality,
twist.
yeah.
Yeah, his personality, and then the thing where he didn't want it to fall into another genre or another category and be, just disappear to something different. He wanted to make it unique, and he wanted to make it something that stood out with a storyline that was very almost deeper than it needs to be. But
Mm-hmm.
the everyday meaningless, you know, just basic tasks that Norman Reedus does, you're kind of like, oh, this is kind of pointless. But then towards, like that 2 hour mark or 2.5 hours in, when you hit chapter 2, you're like, this kind of makes sense. This is something that needs to be done in this time, and people really can't get out. And it fits with the whole coronavirus thing where everybody's under quarantine. There's a specific
Oh,
group of
yeah.
people that go out and do things to make sure that the world keeps turning.
Yeah.
And they put themselves in a line. I don't want to make it over dramatic, but in the game they put themselves in a line of danger where they could die at any turn, where whether it's raining or you run into a BT or something.
I mean,
you
the
know
contrast you just made is crazy when you think about the current state of the
right.
world.
Yeah.
Norman Reedus plays what a lot of us today would call an essential job,
Yeah.
and he's risking his life going into this world, into this whole setting by doing it.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily a virus in the game that you're trying to
Oh no, it's
survive.
Hideo Kojima. It's
It's
way more twisted and
it's
weird.
way darker, and there's more than one thing out to get you.
Yeah.
And all those things work together with the survival horror aspect of it that's underlying.
Dude, that
It's
first hour
just
run I played while you watched, I got in a couple moments of panic with just
yeah.
like with the soundtrack, the
Oh, dude.
visuals, and how you're in a I'm running away from something mode, and you're just like, oh my gosh,
And you can't even see it either.
an
And
invisible force
that's the
that's coming
trip.
after you. That's well, and then
Yeah.
he uses the environment to show off this invisible force as well, which
Yeah.
adds to the level of
Oh,
creepy
dude. Like
suspense.
when it stomp, like when the feet stomp down, you can't see anything, but all of a sudden there's this weird shockwave behind you, and like the ground shoots up, and there's a footprint behind you now where that shockwave was, and you're just like, holy
Yeah.
crap. That's I like you said, that the soundtrack, the sound design, just everything, it all culminates together to put that
That
feel of,
next level of suspense.
you're not actually in control anymore, and you got to figure out a way to survive and get out of this instance right here. You're just like, wow. I mean, he gives you get all the tools within the game to survive, but you have to manage things on your person or your vehicle to make it through to the next area. And
It's
it's just,
definitely a touch and go level of mechanic too, like what you're saying. You get
yeah,
just enough to survive, but if you mishandle what you're given, it could be the end for you very easily.
yeah. And I
What?
mean,
Why?
if we're gonna move on to the remake, I
Let's
I
do that
don't
real quick.
want I don't want to go super deep into that,
No, no,
but
no. But just general feelings, like
I
what
will
they pulled
say,
off and how you felt about it.
oh man, so weird nostalgic tears of joy at the opening cutscene of this game, of Final Fantasy VII, It was like one of those things where, as a kid with all four discs in that big PlayStation 1 case, you're like, ah, this game's going to be good. And then you get through it and stuff. And then as you get older, and then the remake comes out, and then you start it up, and you're like, wow, this is exactly what I imagined the game to look like back
When
in
you
the
were a
day.
kid. Yeah.
Yeah. But all the graphics, like in your head, this is what they look like. But back then, it was just super pixelated and polygonalized to, cut down on space. But man, just the opening cutscene of Midgar and all of the Mako reactors, it was like, I don't know, like my oldest boy, when we first started it up, he's like, Dad, are you crying? I was like, I was like, kinda, yeah. This is big. This is a thing from my childhood right here. This is something that it looks way better than what I ever imagined it to. And
Yeah.
all the time spent into it, I will say it was a job well done. And it's beautiful. I I I loved the turn base of the PS1 version, the action base of the new one. There's some getting used to, but once you get it under your belt, it's tolerable.
But also, how do you feel about the fact that, I mean, you have an understanding that the youth of this generation needed a little bit of that to help pull them in. And granted, we're retro gamers, so like
Yeah,
you specifically, you live and die for that classic gameplay.
yeah.
But they kept elements. It just in what I watched of the first hour, they
There
they kept
when
enough to still allow you to enjoy it, but you also understand it was also to
the,
help bring in younger people that don't know that
there's
classic
the
method.
yeah, there's still a like slow time aspect where you can choose like an ability or spell, but it's very much still
Oh
action
yeah,
based, which is great.
yeah,
I mean, it's like it feels very like what was that Final Fantasy 12 where
yeah.
they first introduced the
That's
action
when they started
RPG.
doing real time action with it.
It, it, it the menu system there in 7 feels very much like 12. I mean, with the ability to switch in between the characters on the fly, and then the ability to select your abilities and target specific enemies or whatever
Yeah,
during combat. It very much feels like that. I mean, there's no gambit system where you can tell your AI controlled party members what to do, but it's still, I mean, they're not dumb. The AI is pretty smart in this remake.
yeah,
So I mean, all in all, if there's one thing that I can be excited about, it's they kept true to the soundtrack. The soundtrack is 100% like OG Final Fantasy VII soundtrack, just upgraded, which
yeah.
is fucking awesome. And then the graphics quality, just it's outstanding. It's beautiful.
I agree.
It's every everything you would imagine the slums of Midgard to look like, and then the reactors themselves, and then when you get further on down the line and in deeper into the other parts of the story, it's just it stays true. And one thing that you pointed out to me that I took playing through it was Barrett's character actually getting a whole lot more, dare I say, character.
Oh, totally. Like as far as like when you went it before going into it, you were very skeptical about how they could take a really expansive story and the original concept was to make it episodic in it and that there was a lot of like I don't know. How are they going to pull that off? How are they going to take a portion of the original game and make it a full experience, and you can
Yeah.
still enjoy it? And yeah, you even pointed out, like, yeah, they added quite a lot of side quest stuff, a lot of filler things here and there. But the thing you just pointed out is that they did take some characters that were very minimalistic in the original, and they gave them a lot more words and a lot more personality.
Yep. They gave the characters character.
Yeah, for any that were lacking or not quite there, they totally elevated those.
Yep.
Lynn, if you have anything else to say, I'll just cover one particular game before we wrap up.
Do you want to hop over to Xbox?
Let's not make it super long, but if you got yeah, I was gonna touch on that. What I've
What
played.
what was the one
what do
that
you
you were
got?
gonna? What was no? You hit the one that you were playing on, and then I can like slingshot mine real quick, and we can go through it.
Okay. I feel like I know which one you're going to talk about, so I'll just leave it at that, and we'll see if my bets are right.
Ooh.
I'm going to say glitchy AF RPG that's surprisingly amazing. No? Is that not where you're going? You don't have to touch that if
So-
that's not the one.
No. We can. I definitely hit that one. I've put a lot of time into that. But like, what was it? So there's what is it? 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 4 on Xbox that I've actually dumped quite a bit of time into over the last week, and then even today I dumped quite a bit into.
Well, dang. All right. Mine will be short and sweet. A little bit of a short review on something I just recently wrapped up. Now, if you guys follow us on our YouTube channel, you'll see I do a lot of Game Pass games. I'll do a segment on that in the future. I'll make a hot list of my favorites that I've gone through recently. Right now, there's a playlist of about 30 game titles that I have sampled over the last few months. But not talking about that. My recent full playthrough that by the time you guys are hearing it here, I've still got a couple more episodes to upload, but I have completed Darksiders Genesis. Now, Darksiders Genesis is a prequel story to all the previous titles under the Darksiders franchise. Basically, it's a post-apocalyptic hack and slash type game as far as the series goes, where in each different title you play as one of the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, and it's a pretty decent storyline. Darksiders 1 is very classic Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time as far as the game mechanics, the hack and slash, the puzzle solving. Darksiders 2 went a little deeper into the RPG elements. Still a lot of puzzle solving, but way more RPG progression. Darksiders 3... Heavy on the equipment, yeah. Darksiders 3, I did a Game Pass sample of it, but what I do know in my time with it and my research of it, it takes elements from both. It definitely dives back into the more classic, simplified Darksiders 1, where it's more hack and slash and minor puzzles, and it takes a little bit of elements from both. There's a lot. You can choose which mechanic to play as. You can either go classic hack and slash, or you can go Darksiders 2 with a little more combo-based button pressing. Definitely interesting. But this title that I just finished, I completed it beginning to end. I have a full playthrough on our channel of it. There'll be about 28 parts to it. I put personally in over almost 40 hours into it because I thoroughly enjoyed a lot of the grind that you can do in between the chapters, which I'll explain later, but the main story is less than 20 hours, like roughly if you just play straight through and don't do anything extra, it's under 20 hours. And it was made by a separate company alongside the development of Darksiders 3. So they were kind of made in tandem with each other, and Darksiders Genesis came out shortly after 3. All the previous titles have been over-the-shoulder, third-person hack and slash. Genesis, however, is a top-down Diablo-esque hack and slash with a little heavier on the RPG element versus original Darksiders, but very much in the vein of that hack and slash. You play as War from the first game, and you play as the fourth horseman, Strife, his brother, which has never had a solo adventure prior to this. What's cool is it's you can switch back and forth between either character at any time. But because of that, it does offer 2-player co-op, so if you want to play with a buddy, you can stay as one character the whole time, and your buddy picks the other character. I know, what? Top-down, co-op, Diablo style. The last thing I'll say about it is it was a lot of fun. If you like all the previous games, all the game mechanics are the same, just the angle is top-down. It's really weird playing as War where you're used to the first game, but now you're playing as him from a top-down view. Very interesting. You can still summon your horse at any time for quick traveling over long areas of map. It's chat.
A lot of people.
Huh?
A lot of people are probably like, I spent an entire game staring at his right shoulder. I'm down for a top down.
It's definitely different. It's a lot different going from playing all the other ones, but the storyline is a prequel, and in the sense that so in all the other games, you're spending your time on Earth trying to fix some crazy mess that Lucifer himself, the Dark Lord, has caused with the third kingdom known as mankind. So you've got angels, demons, and mankind is the third kingdom. A lot of biblical, post-apocalyptic referencing on these kind of things. But the prequel, Genesis, it has you and your brother, War and Strife, pursuing Lucifer and figuring out what his scheme is, and the whole time you're going through different areas of hell. You're not on Earth, you're literally in a wide variety of environments as far as color goes. You know, caves, fire pits, desert, but all of it is technically in hell as far as the story goes. And the ending, without spoiling it, literally, if anyone is familiar with the beginning of Darksiders 1, where War was supposedly falsely summoned by an unknown entity because the seals were broken, so all 4 horsemen were supposed to be summoned, but only War got the call. And so the Stone Council, which basically guides the horsemen on how to keep balance in the universe, locked him up for 1,000 years, and then when something wasn't right, the council freed him and said, you need to go down to Earth and fix whatever mess Lucifer has created, basically. So in the prequel, the very ending literally sets up the very intro to Darksiders 1. It was really cool having played Darksiders 1 close to 10 years ago, and now playing this prequel that completely sets up that entire saga. It was fun. It was a fun ride. I enjoyed it. I think co-op would be a blast. And there's a lot of replayability with it too, because you can tackle any chapter separately from a chapter select menu. You can increase the difficulty, you can grind your characters up higher. There's a lot of unlockables, so a lot of replayability, I'll say this. So I give this an absolute high recommendation on checking it out. If you want to change, if you like the franchise but want to change up what you're used to, it's definitely a breath of fresh air. And I really hope Strife gets his own title. I want to see a Darksiders 4 with Strife being the lead.
Yes.
His dialogue is flipping hilarious between him and War. He's definitely the snarky, slender shooter. He mans 2 pistols that look like hand cannons from Destiny. Very badass character, and he's definitely a long range character. I enjoyed him, and I played as him a lot of the game. I'll leave it at that, Lynn. That's my spiel on Darksiders Genesis. I'll pass it off to you for some quick fire what you've been up to on Xbox.
So I've got 4. We're going to make it quick because the last one we want to get into will probably take some time. So the first one that I've really been dumping a lot of time into because I bought it and it's super addictive and it's the one that Joe was thinking of is Greedfall. It is a RPG that feels, how best describe it? Very much Assassin's Creed Black Flag with heavier RPG dialogue and equipment selection / companions of Outer Worlds. And the map / world of this is vast. Like, I want to say I've probably put, about 13 hours into the game, and I've made it to, like, maybe 4 different areas. And of the giant map, there is so much more for me to experience of this game. And let me preface it by saying in character creation, there is 3 main skill trees you can go through. There's the melee build, there's the spell build, like the sorcerer / magic build, and then there is the, we'll say, ranger. There's no real stealth build, so it's like
a mix, yeah.
It's a rifle / alchemist build is the third one. You do get the ability to sneak / stealth. There's lockpick. There's all the other RPG elements that you would expect in this game. But it is not, there's no true stealth rogue build. I want to warn that off the bat. It is a not AAA game for all those out there. I will say it is a sleeper with how much that is actually in it, but there are things about the game that are not perfect, and it's just one of those things where going into it, it's made by, Focus Home Entertainment, the people that did Styx, the people that did a few other...
Yeah.
Really,
Styx was great.
Really, Styx is a good game. But so it's not a AAA title. There are certain elements of the game that are unpolished, but there's other RPGs out there that have unpolished elements of it, but some of these are kind of a little rough / maybe game breaking. But it's you can get over it with just the sheer amount of other effort put into it and other elements. I will say it is worth the try if the game goes on sale or if it shows up for free. I would say definitely give it a chance. It's a good one. The other one that I've dumped quite a bit into getting past, like, the third area is Doom Eternal. I would like to move on with that one. This game is fantastic. I love it. The first person freaking Doom feel game.
Super fast paced.
Oh man. Yeah, and the difficulty level is real, guys. I will say that even on mid difficulty level, it's still pretty. It punishes you for bad decisions. I will say
mashing the trigger.
Yeah, missing. Yeah. Um, I this game is great. You need to give it a chance. We'll go from there. The other one that I wanted to shout out to was Warhammer 40K,
Ooh,
the one that's on Game Pass right now.
yeah, I recently
Um,
have it downloaded.
I am a big fan of this. So, warning if you are not a fan of Warhammer 40K, but this game, if you were ever a fan of like old school StarCraft or even like old like Diablo 2, if you weren't a fan of those, it might not be the thing for you. But if you were a fan of that, this will be your jam in a game right here. This game is great, and I do definitely say you need to give it a chance. And then shout out to my JRPG side. The other game that I dumped quite a bit of time into
Ooh.
this week was Sword Art Online
Really?
Fatal Bullet. Yes.
Tell me a little
Me
bit.
and me and Lincoln, I don't know how much of the Sword Art Online franchise you've played into. This one, unlike the others, is gun-based. So it is a little bit faster paced, a little bit better map traversal, which is kind of cool. You still get your, Japanese style character creation slash, whiny anime voices, which is great.
Yeah.
And it starts off with you joining up with a character from the other games that you've known for a while. And, if you haven't played the franchise, you can select the "Who are you?" selections in
Right.
dialogue. And then she explains, "Oh, you should know me, blah, blah, blah."
I'm whatever
And
I
then,
picked just now.
yeah. But it's what I think I've dumped probably 6 hours, maybe 8 hours into it now because I had to start over a little bit. But it's sort of online. Let's be honest. It's great. It's a JRPG, and it's no dot hack, but you can't compare the two. They're different. They're
Yeah.
still both simulated MMORPGs, but they're great. I love both franchises, so it's kind of one of those things where it's like, oh, this is home.
Comfort food for the
So,
gaming
yeah,
hobbyist.
exactly.
Yeah. I like that.
Yeah,
Right on, dude.
and then if there's like a bonus one, it was Rage 2.
Oh, yeah.
Link and I dumped a little bit of time into that one today. So, but yeah, those are the Xbox for the week titles that I've done.
Nice. Very nice. I sampled Doom Eternal. I'm definitely looking at that. I'm looking at it as a possible playthrough. I just don't know how much punishment I want in post editing, depending on how long it takes me to get through missions.
Dude, what is it? PC speedrun is 23 minutes.
I know, but that's them breaking the game.
Yeah, that is breaking the game.
They're literally jumping outside of the maps, dude. Yeah.
Hey, shout out to all of you guys out there that like watching speedruns. Go check out the
IGN's
don't
Developers
like-
React.
yeah, don't like promoting other channels, but the IGN speedrun react to 23 minutes.
If I was to promote anything outside of us, I would definitely suggest that people check out IGN's developers react to speedruns videos. They've been
Yeah.
doing quite a few of those lately, and it's kind of hilarious to see some developers react to players either shortcutting certain things or straight up breaking their games
Right.
to a point where they're like, I didn't think anyone could even do that in their own game that they developed. You know what I mean? Like, it's hilarious to hear
I
that.
I will say spoilers in the Doom Eternal one. They came to the conclusion that they needed more unskippable elevator scenes
Yes.
where it's elevator travel.
Yes, that was a something of note from that reaction video.
Yeah, that
Uh,
was great.
um, I'm definitely
On to the last, on to the best.
yes. Oh, what are you talking about? Do you have something else you want to share? Oh,
Today's events at noon.
dear God. So we do have to mention this. It's still gaming, and
It's kind of a big one too.
here's the thing. Lynn doesn't back out of a beloved franchise very easily, but there was a brief stint where he did take a break, and I have to admit I took a lengthy break as well. Not out of disinterest or upset with said franchise, but more of a I wanted to try other games. Like, some people can spend thousands of
It's
hours in a game and they love it, and props to you guys. And I did dump a considerable amount of 1,000+ hours into said title, and we were talking about Destiny 2, guys.
yeah.
Something we haven't talked about in a while. Partially due to us taking a break from it, but more so because there's just a lot in the gaming industry out there, a lot of gems to be found. But recent reveals from developer company Bungie, who makes Destiny 2, have surfaced, and we kind of wanted to briefly talk about them and what our reactions were, because they've got some pretty big stuff planned for the fall, and I gotta say, it might be enough to cause me to, and I know this conversation comes up every year with this franchise, but the hashtag might bring me back. I could be a thing, a trending hashtag. But Lynn, what have we been shown? Let's give
So
us a premise here.
so today, the culmination of this, I will say, quarter's season pass was the Almighty. So at the start of this season pass, the Cabal set the Almighty on a collision course for the Tower, or Earth, and that is Gaul's ship. They pretty much programmed in the coordinates, and then a couple of scions smashed the main control console, and the Almighty went on its course. And as of noon today, Joe and I watched it. The Almighty crashed into the Earth,
And
and it was
let's preface that this was not a cutscene.
no, it was actually in game. Everybody at the tower, it was kind of one of those hold up. Everybody at the tower stopped and was watching the Almighty come past the Traveler, headed on its course straight into, where it was going. And there was that initial flash when it hit, all of the Earth's ozone slash
The
outer
atmosphere,
layers
yeah.
there. Yeah, the outer atmosphere. And then it came in. There was shrapnel coming through with trace and smoke. And then it finally crashed in between some mountains off in the distance, off from the tower. And then there was this huge shock wave. And it was not just visible. Like as the shockwave came through within game, it like legitimately pushed characters in the towers back.
Yeah,
Like there
like
was a
several.
physical knockback.
Yeah, like if you were in the tower at the time of the shockwave, your character actually physically got pushed back in real time while you're in the tower.
It was freaking crazy. And then right behind Tess Eververse, there was a chunk of the tower that was just completely knocked out by a piece of debris. And if you looked off at one of the other spires from the tower, it was destroyed by shrapnel as well. And then as the smoke and rubble settled and everything from the almighty crashing, there was still debris coming into the atmosphere, and like with the like anything that enters the atmosphere, it's on fire and there's that heat trace behind it.
Yeah, smoke
Still that
trails from all the
effect.
things.
It was freaking awesome.
So,
And then you got to actually also watch in game the NPCs react to it too, like just like general maintenance NPCs or whatever,
there's
like
characters that are just standing there.
clean up.
Yeah.
They were like turned back with their hand on their brow like this, looking off in the distance, like, oh my gosh, what's going on?
Yeah, and some of them were pointing
Yeah,
at the event.
it was freaking crazy.
So, aside from the crazy live in-game scene that took place, what's it's already what's the DLC that Bungie has revealed to this point? What we see? Dramatic, huge new location.
The cutscene that was released it starts off with the smaller ship leaving like what may be a carrier or space station, you don't quite know yet. And then it starts heading off in the distance, and it looks like it's heading towards this little blue planet or moon or whatever have you, with this larger, we'll say beige or brown colored planet behind it. Spoilers, it may be Jupiter. And spoilers, the smaller planet, which isn't a planet, it's a moon, actually.
What?
Maybe Europa. But then it goes into the ship, and it's the Drifter with this weird like oxygen mouthpiece, and he does his little signature coin flip.
Yeah.
With the flaming coin, and then it cuts there and says June. I can't remember
I think it was
the
9th.
actual day, June 9th, 2020, and it was the reveal for the next expansion.
Like the fall one that's supposed to be a big one,
But the thing is, that's a trip. If you watch the whole thing, the Drifter ship has a giant circle in the front of it, a giant orange circle. And when the smaller ship goes to come out, which the Drifter is actually on, he's leaving his big ship that's towing the planet and going to this smaller moon or whatever may have you, if I'm wrong and saying Europa. But a lot of people have speculated, and there are leaks out there that it is Europa. And Bungie has complete like art design for Europa.
Plus, what is that one character walking through winter tundra that we've seen?
Which one?
With the three eyes. You know what I'm talking about?
Are you talking about Eris Morn?
Eris Morn. There's some cinematic where we see a character, looks like her. A lot of people are saying it's her walking through the snowy tundra on this possible new location.
Yeah.
And
It might be her.
there,
And there's some other people that I think are like the bottom 10% that are saying that it might be Anna Bray's sister.
huh? That would
I
be
mean,
interesting.
that's like, I will say, a shot in the dark.
That's
And I mean, if they
tinfoil hat
if they
business,
are
sir.
right, right, but if they are right, what is that? Is that come full circle and like things will finally start to get tied up? I mean, we are learning what the pyramids are finally, maybe.
Maybe.
I mean, that might be a couple expansions away, but
I think
I mean,
I, based on the scope and this really intriguing multiple aspects of this teaser, I think we will have to definitely revisit this next weekend after we see what they reveal.
right?
So I don't know, dude. Yeah, I'm definitely
Let's.
gonna tune in and see
I,
what's coming.
I will say the in-game thing was pretty awesome
Yeah.
to
Oh
watch.
yeah. Today's actual in-game event was crazy.
Like to see a games of service actually include in-game like live events is awesome.
Yeah, it's cool
Like
because it's got to be probably the first time or one of the first times that
it
they've done it for
this is
Destiny.
the first like live in-game thing.
Something's
This is the
happening.
first
Yeah,
time.
where
Yeah.
where if you weren't there at the time it happened, you completely missed it and you'll never see it again.
Yeah.
One of those
Nope.
things. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And this is one of those things.
Uh,
And from what there was an emblem given out if you were there.
It's hey, and to each his own, and props to those that have stayed invested with this thing, and Bungie just wants to reward those hardcore,
Right?
or the lucky ones that happen to log on at the time,
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, well, dude, I mean, we'll come back to that Destiny 2 topic for sure once we learn some more.
Hell yeah.
But I think, guys, we've been running pretty long tonight. I think that'll probably be a good wrap-up point here. That'll probably be it for now for our game and bits. So, guys, I'm gonna leave our listeners and viewers with a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Guys, if you enjoyed today's episode, hit that like button on YouTube. Hit subscribe, whether you're on YouTube or on a podcast platform and you're just listening to us. But we do have a lot of other visual content, gaming videos, movie trailer reactions. We got a lot of different things on our channel. 320 plus videos to date as of right now, and we're coming up on our 4th year of being Nerdentials this fall. So, guys, gonna do an episode 100 special once we get there. We're getting close. We're on 87 today, so hopefully before the fall we'll hit 100. Yeah, I think we will.
Hopefully.
But guys, follow us there. We're on the basic social medias, Twitter, Facebook, and whatnot. But if you want to catch all the feeds and all the info, you guys can all visit one special website called nerdentialsmedia.com. Links are in the description, guys. So that's going to do it for your Nerdy Essentials this week. For me and Lynn, guys, thanks for watching, and as always, we'll see you on the other side. I did the to drag out with your final note, so it paired up at the end.
I forgot that it's weird when we're separate.
Okay,